For God and country, freely pledge we all, led by the flag for which we stand. Blue for the mind that seeks the good and true, red for our progress in the game, white for the glory of a heart that's pure, bright with a never shining flame. Alma Mater, we hail, Lord, give the earth and great success. With truth and love will conquer all, for God our land and SFS. Alma Mater, we hail, Lord, give the earth and great success. With truth and love will conquer all, for God our land and SFS. Truth and love, let us unite and be true to our glorious college dream. High on the hill, a beacon light is sheep, leading our children on to pray. March on to glory is a message for spread truth and love put far and wide. Loyal to the hands who raise of guidance, teacher and pupil side by side. Alma Mater, we hail, God give the earth and great success. With truth and love will conquer all, for God our land and SFS. Alma Mater, we hail, God give the earth and great success. With truth and love we conquer all, for God our land and SFS.
If you want light to come into your life, you need to stand where it is shining. With this thought in mind, good evening to one and all present here. Today, I, Kevin Kurian Jacob, student of BA second year, on behalf of the management and principal Dr. K.D. Thomas Sir of St. Francis de Sales College, Nagpur, Maharashtra, Central India, welcome you all to the third day of the ongoing one-week international conference on global collaborations in science, technology, education, mathematics, and humanities to advance frontiers of knowledge and innovation. Today, we are fortunate enough to have eminent speakers with us. Our first speaker of the day is Dr. A. Turin Martina ma'am, who is going to speak on the topic social communications and team building to synergize global collaboration. Dr. Turin Martina ma'am is a gold medal recipient for the Best Outgoing Student, MRSC Integrated. Ma'am is a certified international trainer in rehabilitation science and a member in the Rehabilitation Council of India, New Delhi. She is also a member of IAC-SIT, Singapore, as well as a member of the editorial board, International Journal of Academia and Society. She has done her PhD in rehabilitation science. She has also been awarded a major project under UGC, and she is an investigator in minor projects as well. Ma'am has published around 35 conceptual and research papers related to special education, rehabilitation, disability management. She is the author of the book titled Pencils in Precious Hands by JSM Publications. She is also a co-author of the book Management of Cerebral Palsy. A note for the participants that if you have any questions, you can post them in the YouTube chat box or in the in-call messages in Google Meet. Now I would like to request ma'am to proceed with her talk. Over to you, ma'am.
With all praise and glory to the Almighty God, I thank the organizers, the principal, the management, the staff of the SFS College Nagpur for giving me this opportunity to share my expertise and resources with the learned audience. And we will be reflecting on the topic social communication and team building, which will ultimately lead to global collaborations through my presentation. I will be presenting my screen. So there are two important licenses, yes, that will ultimately lead to social, a transformation resulting in global collaboration. The basic foundations are namely social communication as well as teamwork. So, participants, are you able to see my presentation? Is my presentation visible?
Yes, ma'am, it's coming. It's coming properly, no issue.
Yes, sir. So, related to the topic, yes, that was given to me, we need communication today, which is the key to the success in any professional field that we are existing. And just with communication, we cannot achieve any outcomes that we aim at if we don't look out for a team work or a cohesive, competitive coherence in our work environment, be it in our personal lives or in our professional lives. So as the title goes, yes, there are two important pillars that we are going to reflect on today's presentation for the next half an hour. One is social communication, and how does this aspect of social communication bring about or facilitate team building, thereby leading to global collaboration, networking, as well as bringing about best outcomes in your personal and professional lives. So social communication refers to the way you get information, ideas, or it could be your personal viewpoints also, which are shared between two or more individuals. Yes. So when the aspect of communication comes, it involves transfer of ideas or information or knowledge or expressing feelings and so on. But when accompanied with the aspect of social, yes, the terminology social itself connotes or calls for an exchange between two or more people. So we know man is not an island, yes. So we are not individual people, yes, we are never alone. We are always engrossed with being along with people, or we enjoy the company of people, look forward to spending time with our family or with our colleagues, yes, or in our work environment, we look out for people, like-minded people. So we always, being a human being, we look out for opportunities to share ideas, exchange information, get to know things from others, yes, or it could be just a chit-chat talk. We are always looking forward for opportunities to keep ourselves engaged, where we try to communicate, exchange ideas, or get information within and among people involved in our immediate environment. So it is defined as the field of study that primarily explores the ways through which information can be perceived. It could be knowledge gaining, it could be something related to your hobby or some interest, activity of your interest. So it could be any information that you're perceiving to any of your senses, which is transmitted, understood, and the impact of that information that you receive will surely have in the society in which you are living. So whatever information you get or whatever communication process you are involved in, it automatically results in an impact. It has an influence. It has a result in the society in which you are living. So social communication is of two types. One is a formal way of communicating socially, where you have plans or ideas which are conveyed either in an organization or in an institution you are working or in a firm to which you belong to. And here people talk about the same subject as a part of their profession. It could be exchange of knowledge, yes, or sharing expertise, collecting resources. So formally you try to communicate. So you are in the same line of communication. So formal communication is very idealistic and it is very planned and it goes in a formal way. Informal social communication is where you give your views, your suggestions, your ideas, you pour out whatever you feel about any subject which they might like or be interested in sharing their views about. It could be about politics, it could be about cooking among women, yes, it could be about their hobbies. It could be any topic. Informally, you just share your ideas, your opinions, or your views about a particular subject or a topic. So here people enjoy their participation. It's not very forced or it is not in a planned way. So they are not forced to communicate with others. You feel very much free to to voice out your opinions, or that is what is informal social communication. So what are the advantages of this communication in a social context? So you enjoy the conversation itself, yes? You become engrossed, involved in the aspect of communication that you are involved in the group or in the society or in the community. So you have the freedom, the liberty, the idea to share your own viewpoints and your information. So maybe whatever you feel, whatever you want to express, whatever is your opinion or thought of expression or your idea, you can express that in the process of social communication. You also learn new things. Yes, you can acquire knowledge, you can also get information, and you also learn new things, ideas, concepts also. You also get fresh information in the process of social communication. Yes, you expand your horizon of knowledge. When you don't know certain things, you try to acquire what you need, and you have a target for a wide audience. So this social communication facilitates you to reach a wide audience. Now, for example, this international conference that is being conducted by the SFS, yes. So we are at different parts of the country. And I heard that there are many people benefiting from this international conference on varied topics, on varied areas of interest. So the purpose of the international conference is that it reaches a very wide audience also. Of course, there are some disadvantages of the process of social communication also. Sometimes it may lead to a debate, yes, a sort of an argument. If it's a healthy argument, well and good. But in some cases, it can lead to a debate. In some instances, there can be a leakage of personal information. When things are being shared with confidence and trust, yes, you have to maintain that mutual bond of trust and confidentiality. But sometimes this social communication also has a mishap or a disadvantage where the personal information is being disclosed or leaked out to other people also. And there are chances sometimes where it opens up a possibility for committing any fraud or a crime, and it may confuse a person with a changed personal viewpoint. Sometimes when people don't agree at certain viewpoints, it may result in a sort of a confusion. It can be a cause for any damage of reputation also. But when used judiciously, in the positive way, in the correct and in the proper perspective, then automatically there are more advantages for social communication. So this basically involves media, because communication calls for exchange of ideas where you need a medium or a channel or a methodology. Yes, you need a process for it to take place. And this social media can be in the form of a meeting. It can be a social networking site. It can be through email or through phone, yes, through your SMS, through your blogs or educational blogs that you have where you can gather any amount of information. It could be a group discussion. It could be a brainstorming session. It could be a formal or an informal get together. So this social communication calls for a channel or a medium. Through the social media, there is a lot of exchange of information that takes place. So there are several stages. Now we move on from social communication to the next important aspect, because communication is one that is a part and parcel of every human being. So how does this communication facilitate in forming a team or building a team and working as a team? That would be the next part of the presentation. So when this communication process begins, we look out for developing a team, especially in a social context. So initially, if you see, it starts with a confusion, yes? And what roles are we supposed to take? Yes, and what is the responsibility that each person is to share in the team? Yes, who will lead the team? Who will be the person who will coordinate the team and things like that. So the various roles have to be identified. The tasks have to be then allotted or allocated. Responsibilities to be delegated. And once the team is being formed, a leadership role must be played. Like all of us have experiences in participating in a group discussion, where once the team gets settled, yes, you will look out for a leader who will try to lead the discussion or manage the discussion or help the team work in a cohesive manner. So once the confusion settles, automatically it leads to a understanding between the participants of that particular team. So you define the task that is to be done. What purpose is that team? Has the team come together for? What is the objective with regard to the purpose, or what are the goals for which that team has been formed? You understand the need for that team being formed or the purpose for which that team has been evolved. And automatically now you have well set or clear defined roles. What is the discussion about? Who is going to take down the points? Who is going to lead the discussion? Yes, how are we going to go about? Are we going to share amidst ourselves? So you delegate different roles and responsibilities among the team. That is the second task or the second stage. The third stage, we move on to the sensing stage, where that is the team has been formed. This is the stage when the team becomes stabilized, or there is a sort of a stability in the team where you become one as a team, and you know what are the roles and the responsibilities of the team and what is the purpose for which you have come together. And fourth is you have become a team. Yes, you have become a part and parcel of the team when you start self-evaluating yourself. Yes, like you start sharing ideas, you respect the other people in the team, you try to gather information when somebody, when somebody is able to express clear ideas or is able to be more expressive with regard to a certain topic, the others listen, the others try to share their views, and accordingly they come to a consensus, and thus the team is established. So the objectives of a team is, you have to first understand what the team work is, or what is the purpose of building a team. You have to have open lines of communication as a foundation. Yes, there must be no inhibitions. There must be no, preset ideas or prejudices, or there must be open communication. Yes, a transparency in the lines of communication that you follow within a group. And you must sharpen your communication techniques and skills with regard to the vocabulary you use, with regard to the approach that you have towards people, your body language, yes, your gestures, your behavior, even every single task within the group needs to be in a positive way, in a more acceptable way, so that the group cohesiveness or the team building is at a safer point. And you have to learn techniques for building a better team. So every team must make sure that it is good. It moves to the aspect of becoming better and the best as it progresses. So you have to understand your style and role as a team leader. So first of all, it all depends on the leader of the team, who will contribute a great role, who plays a significant role in the success of that particular team work as such, or in the in building the relationship among the team members. So the leader plays a very important role. So the style that the leader follows, yes, we have several leadership styles, I hope you know. Like it should not be a dominating style, neither should be a laissez-faire style, yes, a very lethargic style. Anybody do anything in the group, that would not be facilitate a group cohesiveness, yes. So it must be more of a participative leadership, a democratic leadership, where you try to be responsible and you give freedom to the members who work in the team. So sharpen your team's goal setting. So whatever is the purpose for which that team has come together, that goal that must be in your mind. Like there must not be any unnecessary discussions, yes. Or sometimes we see when we give even a group discussion for our students, maybe there are 10 students in a group, only 3 will be focused on the topic that you have given for discussion. Another 2 will be talking about anything that happened at their home, or another 2 or 3 will be engrossed in their own conversations. So that should not be the way a group interacts. So all of them, all the 10 who are in a group, or whoever are the members in that particular group, all of them must be motivated towards working for the common goal, so that they result, the discussion of the group or the purpose of the group will result in a good output and in a best performance for which they have come together for. And understand the team members and team dynamics. So you have to understand who are the other members in the team. Maybe just a single minute where you can build a good rapport, because a good rapport building at the initial stages in the team will help the team to work with great belief in one another, build a good bond of trust between the team members, and it will really contribute to great group dynamics also. So you have to practice, you have to discuss and problem solving issues that arise within the team, so that the purpose of the team that is met at the end of the teamwork. So now we will discuss what is a team. Yes, so the picture itself denotes, yes, it's several people. Yes, all of us are unique. We have our own individual differences. But when we come together as a team, it is very important that we leave behind our, our individual differences, and try to only look out for a common goal or the common good of the team. We may have our own likes, our own preferences, our own unique things that we always have. But whatever it is, yes, when you come together as a team, it is very important that you look out for a common goal, a common behavior, and everything should, your aim or your output only must be focused towards achieving the goal or the purpose of the team, where you try to work or where you try to achieve a common motive that you have come together for. So the Webster's 9th edition dictionary says, a team is a number of persons associated together in work or an activity as a group on one side. Yes, it could be a football team for a game. It could be for a debate. Yes, it could be 2 topics where you are in one group. Either you talk for the topic or you are talking against the topic. So it could be any way, yes, or it could be a panel discussion. So you come together. It could be a group discussion. It could be for some project that you come together. So you come together to work in association with each other for a common goal. So when one person cannot accomplish a job alone and several individuals must cooperate to fulfill a mission, you need a team. That's what I told you. When we are not able to achieve as an individual identity, you come together, it calls for the collaboration, the networking, the working together of several people. So you all come together in order to fulfill a mission, and that becomes a team. So there are 3 important C's that are necessary for a team work to be achieved. As we already saw, communication, yes. So before you start communicating, it calls for cooperation among the team members. Now suppose you say, we are all going to meet at 6 p.m. by 5:50 p.m. All of you must be there together, yes. So it calls for a proper coordination and logistics. All of you must respect the other persons in the team. So you have to cooperate, you have to give and take, share, care for each other. There must be good communication and there must be coordination between the people working in a team, whereby the team becomes more effective. So it calls for good cooperation, excellent communication, and perfect coordination of the roles of the people in the team. So when you come together as a team, you come together for a common need. Yes, it calls for a common purpose. You want to achieve something good. So when a need is identified, you actually come together. So it could be for the same organization. Now, all of us are working in an institution. Yes, maybe when you go for some assessment, like last year we had gone for the NAC, fourth cycle of accreditation and assessment and accreditation. So there were several teams which were working together for each criterion of NAC. So when a common need is felt, people with like-mindedness, they come together, and in the same organization we work so that we achieve profitable outcomes or pleasant outcomes. So the working of the team, the more you work together with good cooperation, coordination, and communication, automatically you will be able to achieve even more than what you have aimed for or what you are working for. So when a common need is identified, accordingly, when you come together, you work for the organization, and you can make the organization profitable in the sense to achieve the mission and the vision of the organization for which you are serving. So now I would like some of you to just unmute and tell me in one sentence, yes, what is team building? Can I have some answers, please? Yes, from the participants, can I have some answers? Just in one sentence, what is team building?
Hello. Madam, it is to have to understand the capabilities of different people and bring them together so that they make a strong team towards a common objective. Hello.
Yes, ma'am. Yes, sir.
It is to identify the capability. It is to identify the different capabilities of different people and bring them together for achievement of a common purpose.
Yes. People come together to achieve a common purpose. Okay. Anybody else? Yes, maybe one or two of you can just voice out. It is really a great challenge, yes?
Working as a cohesive unit for a common objective, for a common goal in any organization.
Okay. Working, I don't get the first part of your sentence, sir. Working
as a cohesive unit.
Working as a cohesive unit, yes. For a common goal with a common objective, okay. So when we start thinking of what team building is, yes, it's really a great challenge. As I started, I think I told you, we are all people with individual differences. Yes, even when we ask, yes, even at our homes, when we are planning to cook, each one will come up with a menu. Yes, so even between 4 people at home, trying to bring them together on a consensus for a menu is very difficult. So think of building a great team. So it's really a great challenge. So what is the conception of a team? From the athletic perspective, yes, it connotes winning and losing, yes. So there are only 2 options, yes. If the team works together, they come together, they are able to coordinate with utmost coordination, cooperate with each other, yes, and they try to supplement each other's role, they will win. But if they don't have that, as I think one sir told, yes, cohesiveness, if they are not working towards a common goal, automatically there are greater chances for losing. So in the athletic arena, we always, yes, if you see athletes, yes, it could be a football match or a cricket match or any team that you see, any sports team, the vigor and the energy with which they play, yes, the only goal of them is to win. So that is the spirit that every team must have, yes. And winning strategies must always be your goal. So when you have a winning strategy goal in your mind, whatever may be the challenges that you're facing as you are working as a team, You will try to combat those challenges, overcome those challenges, and you will ultimately reach your goal, whatever may be the hurdles that come your way. So the power of two people, yes. So always we say, when instead of a work being done by one individual, when it is managed by two people, automatically the power or the efficiency with which you work will be really be greater. Yes, that implies the partnership. Yes, it could be in a business, it could be your marriage, or it could be in any contract that you enter into. Yes, instead of you working as a single person, if you have another person to support you, yes, maybe to stand beside you, automatically you feel that positive energy that person tries to impart to you will really help you succeed in a greater percentage or in a greater way. For example, maybe you're doing a work as a single person, but when you have somebody else to join you and when you work as a team, automatically that shared responsibility will enable you to achieve greater success. Here I would just like to share a small example from my department from which I come. Yes, we belong to the Department of Rehabilitation Science, and we are 11 faculty in our department. And the success of the department is because of the dedicated, committed team of staff we are together, and every responsibility we try to share among ourselves. One important success secret of teamwork is you have to identify the strength of the person. So I told you we are 11 of us. So all of us are not, bestowed with the same level of talents. In the sense, all of us have talents, but there will be some talents which are striking or which are very significant in some people. Like we have certain staff or certain faculty who are very good with their documentation skills. Some of them are very good with their elocution or oratory skills. There are one or two staff who are very good with their public relations skills. So we know the strength of every individual, and when we organize a webinar, or it could be an international conference or any activity of the department, we know the strength of that individual, and accordingly, when we try to delegate the responsibilities, we work together as a team, and automatically the success strategy will be very great. So it could be any partnership you are enjoying, or any business, any contract you're working as a team. The power of two, yes, it automatically multiplies. It becomes more and more and more, yes, and automatically it will give you greater strength to achieve more than what you have aimed for. This is what we saw already. I'm sorry, I'm going before. Okay. So now it's a circumstantial aspect of a team. Same place at the same time, yes. So when the group, this is a very important strategy of group dynamics. When a group keeps on changing, yes, when there is a lot of temporary attribute in that group, it will not contribute to the outcome that you aim for. When people keep on changing, yes, when you when it is not at the same time or at the same place, when you have some sort of a uniformity, automatically the success of that teamwork will be even great. So in this context, a company in general, or all the managers in an organization, could be considered as a team. That's why we always make sure that people, like even when there is a recruitment in an organization, they say, yes, you must stay at least for 2 years, or they ask for a bond. Yes, the workplace, they ask for a bond. They ask you to sign a bond. Because when you keep on changing people in an organization or within the team, it could be the faculty team, it could be the management or the administrative team, or any committee that you're working together as. So when there is a frequent change of people, automatically it will create a lot of loss for the organization, and the cohesiveness of the team is disturbed, and the working of the team is also at a question. So the more the team is in a sort of a permanency in the team, when the same people work together, like I can also tell an example for this. We were working for NAC for the past 2 years strenuously, but it is a 5-year assessment data that we have to submit. So we submitted data from 2016 to 2015-16 to 2019-20. So since 2015, we made sure that we form teams for every criterion, and in every staff council, we made sure that the team does not change, because only when there is consistency of the person, the members who are working for the criterion, curriculum criterion of a teaching, learning, evaluation, of infrastructure, research, whatever may be the criterion. So when the team members remain the same, yes, it was easy for them to work, easy for them to continue the work that they were doing. So for the 5 years, it was the same team that remained, except for 1 or 2 exceptionalities, like some had to, some had retired, or some had a job transfer, or some left the job. Yes, it could be 1 or 2 exceptional cases, but there was consistency in the group that was working for every criteria, which automatically attributed or was one reason for the success of us in our NAC accreditation with a score of 3.75 for 4. So we thank God, and we are really happy for the teamwork that went into, where all of them worked together with a lot of commitment and dedication. So teams must initiate change. Yes, though the team must be permanent, it should not be a stagnant team. Often those at the top of the organization are challenged by what changes are necessary within an organization. So teams must provide a valuable source of feedback. Yes. So as and when you are working in a team, you should not be stagnant. That's what I told you. Yes. The permanency aspect is very important. Members should never change, but there must be a lot of life and flow of activities, information working in the team, where you need a lot of feedback from the team members also. Yes, are we moving in the right direction? Yes, or is there a need for a change in the strategy with which we are working, or do we need a different model through which we can work? Can we change the process through which we are serving? So things like that. Yes, you often need to have a sort of a self-feedback within the group. Members can discuss and see if you are proceeding in the right direction, or is there a change? Is there a need for a change, or do you need to apply different strategies and things like that? So a feedback within the team at different phases can also help you to work with great cohesiveness. So teams are collections of the organization's best asset. Yes, so they are the best asset of every organization. As I told you, the success of the organization depends on the various functional teams who are actively serving within the organization. And we know each team member has specific talents. I think I already shared an example with you. So you identify the strength of that individual, spot out what is the outstanding quality of that person in the team. So by combining individuals in a team fashion, all these talents can be joined together to work towards a common goal. Yes, so that's what they say. You cannot ask a fish to climb a tree. A fish can only swim. Yes, but a bird can fly. So you cannot ask a bird to swim. So you identify what is the talent in a particular individual within the team. So if he is a fish, make him swim. If she is a bird, make her fly. So accordingly, yes, whatever is her talent, whatever is her asset, whatever is that person's outstanding striking quality, accordingly you focus on that and try to build on the team. How are you going to structure a team? Yes, so the team has to function as a team, and it cannot perform effectively if it has not set a clear goal and a structure for its implementation. So if you want to work as a team, first of all, you have to become dynamic. Yes, you have to start working towards the goal that you have set, and you have to structure, you have to chalk out a plan of how you're going to implement the various activities towards achieving that common goal, and realize the importance of individual commitment level. That is very, very important. Most of the times we think, yes, that the leader will do the work, yes, or that the other secretary will take care of the report writing, or whatever it is. Yes. So every individual must have a commitment to see that the goals are achieved. So team performance is often contingent on the commitment of the team members. So when there is 101% commitment and dedication among the members of the team, it can really help in achieving great outcomes. But the difficult part is the team building to control. Yes, so you have to have a sort of a self-control, and you have to, focus. The members of the team must have an individual initiative. Yes, I must decide. I must have that feeling that I belong to this team. I must work for this team. I must contribute to the success of this team. So it's like a jigsaw puzzle. Yes, I think in the first slide when I started, I had a jigsaw puzzle. Only when the jigsaw comes together and has a perfect fit. Yes, when I have self-control as well as I learn, like I know my my level of freedom, and I know my role in that that I play in the team accurately, I will be able to fit correctly, so that I do not, in the sense to give you a positive connotation, so that I contribute to building the team and achieving the outcomes of the team. So I have to make a perfect fit in the team. Now we are talking about social communication, yes, and teamwork or team building. So it is a group of individuals who have to share. Yes, you cannot own things for yourself. So until and unless you look out for the I, yes, you cannot contribute or you cannot build a team. So the I feeling has to become the we feeling. Yes, so it is for us, it is together. So you have to start sharing, you have to collaborate. Yes, so start sharing, in the sense you have to give and take. Whatever is your positive, whatever is your strength, try to build on that and try to share that with the others in the group. You have to respect others. You have to, wait for your turn. You have to listen to others. You cannot always be a dominating person, where you will have to understand your role as well as respect the roles of the other people in the group. And a very important aspect is you have to assist one another. So when there is like in the jigsaw puzzle, when one portion is missing, it will not be complete. It will not be comprehensive. So automatically that portion must be filled in. So you have to assist one another. So you have to help one another so that the common goal is achieved. So usually a group, yes, they say not more than 20 individuals. So when it is a very larger group, it becomes very difficult for you to share, to collaborate and assist. So the ideal number would be 20, not more than 20 for forming a group. And members look to their peers for support. So always, yes, peer tutoring or cooperative learning is a strategy that helps to work in a group. Like you look out for others so that they support in your inadequacies in times of need. When you really need somebody to help you, or somebody to support you, or somebody to guide you, suggest you, so automatically the people in the group must shoulder each other so that they can shoulder the responsibilities accordingly, so that the entire work of the team is being done with great comfort. Because if you're trying to overload certain people in the group, the outcomes will not be good, as well as there will be a lot of frustration and stress among the people who have to slog a lot. And some people, they will think, yes, why should I do it when the others are just enjoying? So when there is a shared responsibility, a great aspect of commitment among the group members, automatically this team will help you to achieve success, especially in your workplace. So teams are natural problem solving devices. Like when you have a difficult sum, yes, to work out, automatically you look out for a calculator. When you have to do a percentage, yes, when you have to calculate the marks of all your students, automatically you go to your, now the mobile serves all purposes, yes. So you go to the calculator in your mobile and immediately you are able to make any calculation. So similarly, you have a team. Yes, it is that team which helps you to solve a problem. It is a device that is a ready reckoner, a natural arena that helps you to solve problems that arise on the way. Yes, it could be expected problems, it could be unexpected situations that arise. Whatever may be it, when you have a supportive team with you, automatically it helps you to work in a very positive way. So team setting opens up new communication lines. Yes, so it enables you to network with different people. It helps you to get more ideas. Like when there are many people trying to discuss on certain ideas, yes, automatically they come out. You would not have thought in such lines at all. So you would get very creative ideas. You get a lot of innovative thinking when you have people working together. So because of the necessity of communication within a team, members encounter problems and challenges. Of course, it is challenging. Yes, you will have a lot of problems also that crop up, especially in the early stages, when people don't understand each other, when the team cohesiveness has not been established. But as you start heading off and you try to overcome them, yes, with a very lighter heart, and then automatically you can start working towards greater efficiency and success. So they are a collection of the organization's best assets. Each member has talents. So combining all these individuals in a team fashion, you join together and you can work towards a common goal. Now, as you start working, you must have the end result in mind. Yes. So that your target or your focus must be in mind when you start working together. So a widely understood and interesting concept in the management jargon, even it could be in the service sector or any field of specialization you belong to. Yes, it could be like an area where I come from, social sciences, rehabilitation and disability management, or it could be financial management, anywhere. Yes, the word team is an acronym to, synonymous to, together everyone achieves more. Yes, so as long as I think I am an individual, it is very difficult for you to contribute towards a common good. But when you come together as a team, yes, it could be your staff band, it could be your college faculty, it could be your student group, it could be your research, research center, it could be in your research center. Wherever you are as a member, it could be your church club, it could be in your voluntary organization to which you belong, or anywhere you are a part or a member. Yes, so when you come together, it could be an association, you are maybe an association of your own department. So when we come together, we are able to achieve more. Everyone achieves more. Yes, it is not it is not I alone. It is the we who achieve together. So together, everyone achieves more. So that is the expansion for the team. So what is the significance of this teamwork at the workplace? So we are no longer individuals, we are a team. Yes, we are together as a team. As I told you, you could be a member of different teams of your association, of your department, of your college, and it goes on, yes, from the smaller circle to the larger circle. So it involves joint efforts of a number of people to achieve a common goal. Like even you could be a member in the library committee, you could be a member in the as I told you, the research circle, you could be a member of the IQAC team of your college, you could be a member of the quality circle of your college. So accordingly, you belong to different teams. You are, though you are employed as a faculty in a particular college or in a particular institution, we belong to different teams within the organization. You could be a part of the placement cell or the HRD and so on. So I think I'm running out of time, is it? Can the organizers tell me when I must stop? Can I take another 10 minutes? Dilip sir?
Yes, ma'am.
Can I take another 10 minutes?
Okay, ma'am. Okay.
Okay. So I'll try to go a little fast, yes? So we have to play a balanced role with clear objectives. Openness is very important, and sometimes we need to say no also. Confrontation is also needed. Yes, you cannot accept false beliefs, false ideas, or wrong means cannot be accepted in a group. You need to have a lot of support and trust. Regular reviews are needed. Appropriate leadership. Yes, only when the leader is the correct person, automatically the team will work towards a focused goal. The methodology, the procedures need to be sound. Of course, there needs a lot of cooperation, and sometimes, as I told you, if it is through unjust means, yes, there will be conflicts that arise. But always make sure that it is a win-win conflict, never a win-lose. One person should not win and the other person should not lose. It must always be a win-win conflict. Together we will win. It must also contribute individual development, though we are within a group, and it calls for sound intergroup relationships and good communication also. So in the organization, yes, we have a sharing of workload. I told you, one person should not be overloaded. A lot of building bonds between people, relationships between people, increased workspace. Yes, you must be given the space to work with freedom, lessen the risks that you face, a great learning opportunity, creativity for all of us to grow together, a healthy competition, of course, and always look out for quality output. Never compromise on the quality. You derive a lot of job satisfaction, and there must be mutual organizational interest. Yes, and overall reputation of the organization is built through teamwork. So you share workload, build bonds, and increased work pace and lessen risks also. So first-rate output can be because of your learning opportunities, creativity, innovation that comes up, and with a healthy competition. So individually we are one drop, but together we are an ocean. So there are three major outcomes of teamwork: job satisfaction, mutual organizational interest. Yes, all of us grow together, and it must ultimately contribute to overall reputation. So it must bring about optimization and efficiency within the organization, and social communication and teamwork must make the impossible possible. Yes, so dream to achieve. So you must have trust and accountability within the group, which are the secrets of successful teamwork. You must be accountable to the work that you are entrusted with, and you must maintain trust within the group. Respect people, respect relationship, yes, for each person as well as for among all people, which will evolve in a strong bond. So you have to define the duties for which you are working together, meet the expectations, outline the jobs, what you have to do, and a successful, trusted, and well-respected team member uses words like absolutely or certainly, which is assigned with the duties. So the language that you use also needs to be very positive and in a very correct way. Yes, that is also very, very important. Especially deadlines for the project. Yes, you can work as a team, but you have to achieve the goal within the stipulated time, maybe giving them soft reminders, because when you are very harsh, yes, it's very difficult to work within a team. So I already told you, yes, your poise, your language vocabulary is very, very important. And at the same time, you cannot be very lethargic and lazy and try and allow the members to do whatever they want. So be very realistic about the time frame and use soft reminders. So together, everyone achieves more. So with communication and cooperation, you can aim success in your organization. So sometimes we need to show interest in certain people. You need to give feedback, advice, and help if needed amidst the group members. You have to take the lead sometimes. Yes, delegate responsibilities according to the hierarchy. That is also very, very important. Maybe a senior personnel, you have to respect the experience and the age of that particular person. Do not show favoritism among team members. You must have transparency in communication, which will help you achieve the common goals. So you need a lot of appreciation and recognition. When somebody in the team really contributes much, try to recognize the effort of that person. Have a sense of belongingness to the group. Yes, do not let people down within the group. Be responsible, and your voice matters. Yes, of course, a lot of incentives and rewards can also enable people to work successfully within a team. So the elements that contribute are, you must have shared values. Yes, share a common goal, which accounts to around, this is one survey which says 32% is because of the shared values that we have. A mutual trust between the group members of the team contributes to 30% success. You must have an inspiring vision, a motivation. Yes, which contributes to 22%, and the complementary skills, supporting one another, 12%, and the rewards that you give. Yes, it could be just a pat or a clap, yes, or just a word that encourages the other person, which will contribute to 5%. So together we can make massive breakthroughs when you work together. Yes, it really helps you to bring about a personal prominence to the efficiency of the whole. So every individual unit automatically contributes to the success of the whole, and you have a sense of belongingness, a sense of loyalty, and you feel more responsible. And the next slide says, with teamwork, you can make everything possible. So coming together was a beginning, keeping together was progress, and working together is success. So with good social communication skills, building efficient teams, let us work together to contribute to the success of our organizations. I have many more slides, but due to lack of paucity of time, I think I'll stop with here. Maybe I'll go to my last slide. The strength of the team is each individual member. The strength of each member is the team. So let us identify our strengths that God has bestowed us with. So though we are individual members, each of us have a particular strength. So identify your strength, and this strength of each member becomes the strength of the team, which automatically or ultimately contributes to the success of the organization. So I'll just read the references. You can just go to the website for readysetpresent.com, where there are around 100 of presentations on teamwork. And one presentation that helped me was by Nazrin Tayyab. It was very nice, from Lahore. Yes, I also refer to that. And there was another presentation by Catherine Cronin. Yes, like a house. Yes, building of a house. We know how many hands come together. Similarly, hands and hearts that come together will ultimately help you work together as a team. I think we will not have time for questions, but thank you for following me. And I hope and pray to the Almighty God that all of you work together as teams and reap successful outcomes and blessed outcomes in your journey of life, both your personal and professional life. Thank you, organizers, and thank you, participants.
Thank you, ma'am, for eloquently sharing with us your knowledge and social communication about social communication and team building, synergizing global collaborations. It was indeed enlightening to listen to you. I'm sure that participants must have grasped each and every detail minutely. Thank you, ma'am. Now, proceeding further, our second speaker of the day, Dr. Dasanthila Sherifi, ma'am, who is going to deliver her views on the topic, Improving Engagement through a Playposit guided group project. Dr. Sherifi is an assistant professor and HIM program director at Rutgers University, New Jersey. Prior to joining Rutgers, she was a professor at the College of Health Sciences at DeVry University. Ma'am has a PhD in Health Services from Walden University, a Master's in Business Administration from Southern Illinois University, Carbondale, a Bachelor of Health Science in Health Information Administration from Gwynedd Mercer University in Pennsylvania, and a bachelor's degree in marketing from University of Tirana, Albania. A note for the participants that if you have any questions, you can ask them in the YouTube chat box or in the in-call messages in Google Meet. Now I request ma'am to address the participants. Over to you, ma'am.
Thank you. Thank you for having me, and thank you for the introduction. I will start sharing my screen right now. Can you see the first slide?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, great. So my presentation builds on what Dr. Turin Martina was just speaking. Actually, I enjoyed her presentation. So she talked about team building and social communication and collaboration. And we realized that is a very important aspect in higher learning institutions, colleges, universities. So for that reason, we have dedicated a lot of time, efforts into trying to make that as best we can. So in my presentation today, we'll talk about what prompted us with this research, the actual research questions and objectives, the research plan, the outcomes measurement, and some of the preliminary data, and then of course the references. So before we start, Kevin mentioned that this is improving engagement through a Playposit guided course project. So let me define Playposit because it's not a familiar term perhaps, or it's not a common term. So what is Playposit? Is an interactive video tool that provides an opportunity for embedded assessment into the video. So this is a screenshot of what that looks like. Basically, it's a video that I create or is available either through TED Talks or YouTube that has reliable information and is relevant to the concepts that I am teaching in the course. And then at key points, strategic points that I determine are proper, I insert a question to assess whether the students understood the concept or not. So this particular one shows, the prior discussion was about Gantt charts, which are used in project management. And then we have the question that the students need to answer. They select the correct option and they click submit, and then they're able to move forward. So that's what a Playposit is basically. Where did the inspiration come from? Well, we all know that education is not about simply getting students to read a definition and learning what that is. It goes much deeper beyond that, right? We want our students to become well-functioning members in the society. And in order to do that, we want them to develop critical thinking skills. And critical thinking needs to build on certain foundation, and we want that foundation to be as accurate and solid and complete as possible. That, along with interactions, the collaborations, that is what actually prepares one and builds on their character so that, they will become eventually those well-functioning members of the society. So this was one of the quotes that actually inspired me. And then also, my parents were teachers, and that's maybe where I developed my passion for teaching. And there was always this side of them trying to show me certain things. So it was not simply based on theoretical concepts, read this and then you will be fine. It was more than that. It usually went into showing or doing things. And especially with my mother, she was a mathematics teacher. So I had to do actually exercises in order to come up with different questions because some were harder. And so with that in mind, can you hear me? Okay. So with that in mind, then my colleagues and I came up with a research project that hopefully addresses some of these needs, and it creates the structure, the proper structure for the students actually to build that foundation and develop their critical thinking skills. And when I say build a structure, we understand that the online students have fewer ways to engage with the university activities, services, and they tend to have reduced interactions with peers and the professor. By nature, because of the way that the course is structured, there are limitations, right? So in a normal, traditional school with brick and mortar, we have students walking into the class, stopping in the corridors, talking with each other about something that they will discuss in the course. Or maybe as they're listening to the lecture, they're stopping and asking questions to the professor. So there is by the way this is structured, and also the process, maybe the professor allows the students to ask questions throughout. Those two, the structure and the process, make it possible for them to actually ask questions when they arise, get answers, build on that, and then move forward with a better understanding. So that possibility is somewhat limited in the online environment unless we create a right platform for it. So our teaching method and course design needs to be somewhat accommodating for that purpose. And that's where we try to build on that. So we understood the importance of those interactions, the importance of creating the platform and the structure so that our curricular aspects actually have those components embedded. Otherwise, they will not happen. And that is where we came up with trying to use some of the new tools and methods so that we can improve student engagement. So from there, we asked our research questions, right? So how do we engage students through videos? So we have this knowledge of there is a new tool out there, and we also can rely on some of the prior methods that have always worked, such as team building and group work that Dr. Turin Martina was referring to. So how do we capitalize on those to improve student engagement? Also, how do we help them focus on areas that an expert eye like yours would notice, but novice viewers might not? So here I must say, our students in my program of health information management, they already come with 2 years worth of college under their belt. So they have completed general education courses in English, mathematics, statistics, history, social sciences, so they have that background. However, now they come in for 2 more years in my program, in our program, to learn health information. Okay, they learn about informatics, databases, health data resources. So there's a lot of new terms, a lot of new concepts that perhaps looking at it from a perspective of a general person, they might not notice, but we want them to specifically focus on those new areas so that they can expand their foundation and they learn more new concepts. And sometimes if they're simply reading the chapter, they may or they may not pay attention to that specific area that we believe is important, is key. So by including the video, the Playposit, with that concept and inserting a question about that important concept, it makes them focus on it, right? And then the third question was, how do we know that they actually watched and understood what we provided to them, the video, okay, that Playposit? So sometimes, I've done lectures, live lectures like this, and it is not easy to follow through and see, are they watching me really? Did they understand? In the classroom, in the in-person classroom, I can look at each of my students. I can look at them in the eye, and I can see if there is hesitation. In the online environment, that is a challenge. So again, by using a tool that tells us something, provides us some insight, it makes it possible for us to actually get some feedback on that. Okay, so our research objectives were to increase interaction with the course content, primarily through Playposit activities, and I'll show you in a second, to increase the interaction of students with me. I'm the professor for that class right now that is under study. Through the videos, live sessions, I provide virtual office hours, and I provide timely feedback to their assignments. 3, increase interaction among students, and that is primarily done through a small group project. improve the process engagement and result management in the course, examine students' perceptions about whether the teaching strategies have helped them, and then explore multiple ways to evaluate student engagement in the online learning setting. We realize this is this is just one of the tools in the toolbox. So this is an exploratory type of research for us to see whether this was fruitful or not, whether at least preliminarily. So to make this happen, we incorporated a number of activities, basically. So for the first one, of course, we had to embed Playposit activities. So there's a number of videos that have become part of the course, right? And so those videos have strategically inserted questions in them that connect directly to the course project. There is small group work. So I have 29 students that have been split into 9 groups. Most of them have 3 members. There's a couple of groups with 4 members. And they also have their own platform and area where they can get together and collaborate. And then there is the course project, which is somewhat complex. Well, the intention was to have a well-designed, meaningful course project that has been proven to be effective in distance education courses, okay? So that there is relevance to it, it is connected to those main concepts that we want them to learn, and there is some opportunity for them to challenge themselves as well. Okay, that's where that complexity comes in. And for this one, we are using our Canvas platform. So the process started before the course actually started. I created the course project and the Playposit activities, and then all of this was updated in the course Canvas content, right? So I added the course project, it added the Playposit activities, created the space for the groups, and for the live session recordings. Okay, so that is from a professor's standpoint, right? On the darker area, the blue, darker blue area right here, right? This is what the students are required to do. Basically, they need to complete the course project activities. They need to complete the Playposit activities. They need to use that group space and then watch the recordings. Then as far as the interaction aspects right here, so from my perspective, I am offering live meetings with students once a week. I'm facilitating the creation of groups. Actually, that was already done at the beginning. Then I continue to provide timely feedback and then interact in the discussion areas as needed. Students on the other end, they are asked to either attend the live meeting or listen to the recording. They need to be active in their groups. They need to reflect on the feedback and interact with peers and me. So these are just some screenshots of what the group setup is, what it looks like. So basically, there is an opportunity to, I have 9 groups, as I said, and then I did not expand because I didn't want the student names to show here, but that's their group space. And if I click on this particular area, I can actually visit their page. So they have their own page where only those students have access to, and they have an opportunity to discuss. They have an opportunity to share files, to do a conference, or to collaborate. And then, of course, they can post announcements as well. This is what the typical module looks like. So basically, they have an overview and the activities for the week, the learning objectives, lectures, readings, multimedia. I'll escape this area for a moment so I can show you in real time what this looks like. So this is what the course setup is. From the beginning, and I'm trying not to scroll down too fast. So at the beginning of the class, the groups were assigned, as I said, And then that's where they had their first team activity. If we go here in the course overview, so they have the learning objectives, which are aligned with their activities. And then they have their readings and additional videos. So there is a weekly recording of the lecture that was done. There is another video on how to create Gantt charts in Excel. Okay, and then this is what the Playposit looks like. So they would click on this, and then what they get is actually something along these lines, where they click play, and then there is content, and then at certain points where you see the dots, it basically stops, and then there is a question. That's one question, and that's here's another, and then I already showed you one. From a professor standpoint, this is where I go to and I create the new bulbs. These are called bulbs. Basically, this is my pool, and I use them in specific weeks as needed. So there is a number of them, and again, these are aligned with the course project. So in this particular week, I asked them to get organized. So they have their group. They need to come up with a plan on how they will proceed to address the different parts of the project. Down the road, they will have to create charts to do data analysis, to do a root cause analysis for a specific problem in relation to medication errors or surgical errors in the operative room, because this is healthcare related, right? Here, actually, I asked them to reflect on each other. So rather than having each group member talk about themselves, I asked them to talk about another person in the group, because that starts to create that trust among them. They start to know each other. They learn more about each other's strengths. So to help them alleviate some of the confusion that Dr. Turin Martina was referring to, that's why we had these Playposits, so that they would understand better, hopefully, what the concept behind creating a group charter is, or let's say what is a chart, a Gantt chart, or a PERT chart, which one they should be using for their project, and so on. So everything basically is aligned, and the expectation is that they follow a certain order in completing them. So what are we expecting? We are expecting that students are provided with more active learning opportunities. Basically, there is the readings. There is no escape from reading the assigned chapter, right? Or chapters. Sometimes there's more than one. And then there is also the live lecture opportunity. There is the video that has the Playposit, basically, with the embedded assessments. And those create an opportunity for engagement. So engagement, basically, the video stops. Did I pay attention to it or not? And then am I ready to answer that question? If I am not, I can go back and I can listen to it again until I get it correct. Then I can learn by virtue of discussing this with my group, because that is required, is part of the assessments. You have to work as a group to address the different parts of this project. And sometimes students learn from each other, just like they would learn by stopping in the corridor or in the classroom before or after the lecture to talk with each other about something. And this is actually a very interesting area, because we see what we were listening to earlier, the theoretical aspects about the dominating role or identifying striking qualities, things like that. So basically, I am seeing some of that happening with my students, and they reach out to me and they say, well, my team leader said that my idea was not correct. So then I'll have a meeting with them and say, okay, so why is it not correct? well, we have to look at it from that perspective. No, who said that you have to look at it from one perspective? You can look at it from multiple perspectives. So then they're understanding more, they're building tolerance for each other, and they're identifying actually what they're good at or what their group member is good at. There was a question earlier in the chat, should we create a team of fishes? Which was very interesting to me. I purposefully, when I created these groups, I tried to put together students that had something different in their background. So some of my students are working already and they are coming to school full time. So if they are working, they have some different experiences to bring to the table. So I did not put them all in the same group. I spreaded them because I wanted each group ideally to have someone with some experience so they could look at it from a different perspective. So that's how I addressed that. And then hopefully, as they are going through these activities, there is this general interest, this genuine interest of learning and retaining the information and building on it and hopefully completing not just the course, but completing the program. So for the research purposes, there have to be measurable outcomes, right? So the measurable outcomes we identified would be completion of the Playposit assignments, student attendance of live events or recordings, frequency of the interactions, completion and quality of course project deliverables. And then for the other objectives I mentioned earlier, we are going to look at the evaluations that the students complete at the end of the course, any reflections that they will provide. We are planning to do a student focus group to get even more detailed feedback. We'll do a survey, and then we'll also incorporate all of the data that we have in our course. When I showed you that screen earlier, there's also a tool to do data analytics, which I can use. So let me share with you, right now we are on week 8. The semester has 15 weeks. So I already have some data to share, although these are not final and no formal connections and conclusions have been made. But for up to this point, I've had 7 Playposit activities and they're completed 100%. I've had the weekly live sessions. Now, the live sessions have been challenging for students to attend. As I mentioned, a good portion of them work. Some work in healthcare, some work in other areas, but they do work. So only about 5 or 6 students per session are attending live. However, they are watching the recordings. So as per my data analytics tool, I see that there have been 86 plays and there have been 10 recordings already. So these recordings are different from Playposit. Okay, Playposit, those are monitored differently. I actually get the scores for those separately. And then I have been watching the student interaction in Canvas in that group area I showed you. And then there's also what's happening that I did not anticipate. Well, I did anticipate the Google Docs because I actually encouraged them to use that. But I didn't think that they would use WhatsApp or FaceTime to collaborate with each other. So that is happening more than I hoped, but more than I expected. So I cannot measure that right now. So what will happen is at the end, when I do the survey, then I will try to capture some of that data. So I cannot see how frequently they're interacting right now. And then for the course project deliverables, so far they have had weeks 3, 4, and 6. And week 8 is going on right now, so there will be another one by Sunday, due by Sunday. But those have been completed 100%, and actually with no delay. Everything has been submitted on time, which is really great. Okay, so the quality of the project, it's actually really, really high. I was surprised to see that the scores for the course project were above the 90%. And that is elevating the overall class average. So, this is not the only assessment that I have. There's discussions, this seems to be the high point, which makes me optimistic because it is actually, in my opinion, it is a more difficult task, but they are challenging themselves and they are using their critical thinking skills really nicely. What else am I observing here? There is a desire to have more interaction. So my weekly lectures were designed to explain even more concepts and create an opportunity for them to discuss. However, because there is only a few participating, and some of them have not built their confidence yet to be more free with discussing and asking questions or answering questions when I ask them. And then there is also, because the lectures are being recorded, there's probably that intimidation factor that they don't feel comfortable, being too interactive. So what I did is I said, what if I offer an opportunity for them to debate? So I added 3 live debates in the evening, and these are not recorded. Basically, I offer them a topic and a scenario. And, well, not more than one scenario. It depends on how quickly we go through them, 2 or 3 usually. And they have to take a stand and say, okay, how would you address this scenario? It's their performance improvement in healthcare, because that's what the class is. And that's where I am seeing a lot of interest. And they are sharing, which is awesome. Okay. So in fact, my third one was just a few days ago, and I thought that I would stop. But then students asked, can we have one more? Which is really great, because that's where you see the true level of engagement, because when they want more of it, when it's not forced, but when they have this genuine interest in learning more, and through these hands-on types of examples or scenarios where they can actually feel free to express their opinions without being afraid that they're going to be judged or listened to, later. So that creates a more welcoming environment. So I see that has boosted up their level of critical thinking. Okay, and they've become more creative. They have more ideas to share in their projects, and it seems that they're connecting the dots, which is really what we look for. That was, one of the key points, in critical thinking that I mentioned at the beginning. So are they able to not just apply something really quick, but connect the dots, evaluate, synthesize the information? And at least, for those examples that we have shared, for those scenarios, they seem to really have made an improvement, which fits, really nicely, not just what we want from this research, but overall as an educator, this is what we want. It's not just about satisfying accreditation requirements, but it's truly what we want from our future, generations and professionals. We see that there is potential impact already to improve student learning experience and plant the seeds for lifelong learning. That question that was asked in my last debate session it made my day, because that's where you see the interest, again, in learning more. Okay, exploring the innovative way to evaluate student engagement in the online learning, in the online setting. So this is, again, as I said, is just one tool. It's not going to, I can't conclude right now that this is the only thing, the Playposit is the only thing that made this happen, but it certainly gave them a spark. Okay, so we're going to continue to evaluate that and to see how that works with maybe another class next year, or maybe we just use it in the same class, but we have more students down the road, and we can do some comparisons. And that way, we are going to be able to explore best practices and trying to make the online program more appealing, more unique, so that students actually value and they have something to take on as they complete the course. Now, I realize that Playposit, as I said, is not the only tool, and this platform that we have, Canvas, is not the only tool. Other schools use other tools, which is great. So there is still potential, I believe, that there can be other tools used with similar purpose. And here's a list of them that I've come across: Snagit, Camtasia, Explain Everything, Edpuzzle, Screencast-O-Matic, or VideoAmp. So what we could do is perhaps still utilize the video, because it is a go-to nowadays for the newer generation. So rather than letting them explore whichever they want, we are guiding them in the ones that we believe are the most accurate and deliver the information with efficiency and effectiveness. So then we also have the ability to customize by asking the questions that we want. So that's the guided attention, pointing them in the direction where we want them to go. And then we follow up with assessments based on what they just learned. So this is what I had prepared. Feel free to ask any questions. And I appreciate your attention and your invitation. And thank you for letting me be part of your event. Are there any questions?
Yes, ma'am. Hello.
Yes, I can hear you.
Yeah, ma'am. Ma'am, in India, majority of students come from the rural area, and these students are not native speaker of English or any other language. Because of that, they are not able to get the jobs in best MNCs, although they have talent. How to scratch them? Like they made them to update according to the today's demand in online interaction, I'm saying now. And the second phase of that question is how this communication gap can be minimized.
Very good question. I am an English, English is a second language for me as well. My primary language is Albania, and I came in the US only 21 years ago. So I am a firm believer that the actual language is important, but knowing how to express yourself and articulating your thoughts in any language, I think that is primary. Okay, so what we see usually is, you can learn in any language, right? So then if you have that capacity, then it is easier just to pick up and learn language, because then you have the drive, you have those thoughts in your mind, and you have to find a way, you want to find a way to express them. So that is going to drive the student to learn another language much faster than if they did not have those deep, complex thoughts in their brain to begin with. So it is nice to start both at the same time. It is nice to start learning another language like English and developing critical thinking at the same time. But if it is not possible, if it is possible at least to learn and develop those critical thinking skills, that should still take priority, in my opinion, precedence. And then again, as that builds, then it means that the individual, the student, has the ability to think for themselves and say, okay, I know this, then
Thank
I
you,
have
ma'am,
to
for
find
answering.
the tool to communicate, to reach out to that other audience that only understands that other language. So they can realize that much better when they have well-developed critical thinking skills. And I invite my colleagues, I don't want to be the only one to answer, but that's my take on it.
Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you, ma'am, for answering all the queries with such ease and expertise. Your in-depth knowledge speaks volumes about your humble nature. Thank you, ma'am, for detailed explanation on this topic. We are all mesmerized by the way you open new doors to our knowledge with such ease. Your talk was so engaging that we lost track of time. Your presentation drew the audience in and held their attention throughout the session. Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you for having me. And I will answer others in the chat.
Yes, ma'am. I'm highly obliged to introduce the speakers to our third session, Mr. Cyril Khisty, Dr. Eric Smith, Dr. Tommy White, and Dr. Lionel De Souza, sir. Mr. Cyril Khisty holds a master's degree in social work with specialization in industrial relations and personal management from the Tata Institutes of Social Sciences, Mumbai, a degree in law from Nagpur University, and a certificate in advanced personal management from Templeton College, Oxford, UK. He has worked as the head of HR department for large undertakings for a major portion of his career and retired from Coal India Limited as its director personnel and industrial relations. We also have with us Dr. Eric Smitzer with a doctorate in business administration from Walden University, where he specialized in social impact management. Sir is also the owner of Enjoy Any Meals LLC, a minority-owned food service business in South Atlanta, Georgia. He is a financial education service consultant specializing in financial literacy and credit restoration. Also accompanying them is Dr. Tommy White, sir. Dr. White holds a bachelor's degree in criminal justice from Liberty University. He has a master's degree in criminal justice leadership and executive management and is a doctorate of business administration in entrepreneurship from Walden University. He has been an adjunct faculty at the University of People since January 2020. So is currently teaching undergraduate course and is also serving his country by providing military service to the Air Force in the United States. We also have Dr. Lana De Souza with us, who is well published, an award-winning professor, philanthropist, and international education, healthcare, and pharmaceutical marketing professional. So is engaged in global higher education development and is actively involved in advancing the educational needs of aspiring and deserving populations worldwide. Sir is the executive director of University of Global, an organization that creates worlds of opportunities for the students and universities. A note for the participants that if you have any questions, you can post them in the YouTube chat box or the in-call messages in Google Meet. Now, I would like to request our speakers to share with us their mastery over the topic, strategic human resource pandemic response and the private enterprises in India and Southeast USA. Over to you.
Yeah, thank you very much, Kevin. Can you hear me?
Yes, sir.
Wonderful. So I am waiting for the PowerPoint to load. And I believe that is taking place. So waiting for that to load. Okay, nevertheless, let me start by saying that it is an honor and a privilege to be a part of this international conference and presentation, and I can say that on behalf of my colleagues, Mr. Cyril Khisty, Dr. Tommy White, and Dr. Eric. So this hasn't yet loaded. Dilip, can you see what's the hitch? Can you see the screen now?
Yes.
Okay, wonderful. So our topic is strategic human resource management. And when we say strategic human resource management, it means a different connotation. Means that here organizations are just not responsible for human resources, but they are also responsible, this function is responsible for taking into account the financials of the company, the prosperity, the economic viability of the company. And this has been a tenuous and a trying time, as we all know. So something uniquely happened in this endeavor. We have combined research from India and the United States. India specifically, central India, Nagpur and the adjoining areas. So let me go to the next slide and tell you what we did. And now, first of all, the aim of this presentation is to kind of let you know or to motivate you to believe that anything is possible. We have brought two worlds together, India and the United States, in this research. And the process that we undertook this study, this is a qualitative study. There are two types of research, qualitative and quantitative. Qualitative means what people express in interviews, and then quantitative is more numerical or number-based, which is surveys and data collected in that respect. But here, we wanted to get into really what was happening in public and private enterprises in India and the United States. So this study brought our efforts in trying to understand how the pandemic has influenced strategic human resource management practices. And as you can see on the screen, the researchers for the Central India part of it was Mr. Cyril, Khisty, and me. And then in the United States component, Dr. White, Dr. Smith, and me. And the interviews in India were perfectly, the person in charge was really in a strong position to undertake that, because Mr. Cyril Khisty has extensive experience in the public sector. He was the director of Coal India. So who better than that to really fashion those interview questions? Mr. Khisty, can you just tell us briefly on who you interviewed and their kind of profiles in brief?
Yeah, good evening, everyone. This study was basically in two large public sector undertakings. Public sector undertakings are owned by Government of India with majority shareholdings. So two public sector undertakings were identified, and also two private sector organizations were identified. So in public sector organizations, I interviewed 8 persons who were holding the rank of chief general managers and general managers working in the human resources department. And in the private sector, I basically interviewed the heads of divisions and shift in charge. There were 2 persons. One was the head of the division and another person was the shift in charge. So these persons were identified based on their delegation of powers. That is, those persons who were having all the authority to implement the decisions which were taken at the board level. These officials who were there, they were not involved in policy making. They were not involved in decision making, but they were involved in implementing the decisions which were taken by the board in public sector undertakings and by the owners of the private sector organizations. So basically the focus was to find out as to what they feel, how this pandemic has been handled by the human resources division. So my focus was on these two organizations. Yes, please.
Excellent. Thank you, Mr. Khisty. So participants on both fronts in the United States and India were chosen for the depth of the experience, the seniority, and knowledge of strategic human resource management. Then, so I'll turn now to the US side, and Dr. Eric, I believe, will explain to us what happened there. Dr. Eric?
Good morning. Can you all hear me well?
Good morning.
Great. So I do apologize for concealing my face, but I am in a public space, but I'm excited to speak to you all from the United States perspective on this great undertaking. So we interviewed 5 human resource managers who were directly involved with coordinating the work from home aspect that the pandemic caused us to revert to. These individuals were senior managers that had to make the decisions on whether to close the businesses or to reassign employees, some to work in the facility while others had to change and uproot their lives at work and convert to remote learning and working from home. So the individuals that we chose were 5 human resource managers from medium-sized companies in the southeastern part of the United States. And the reason that we chose the southeastern part of the United States is, number one, that is where myself is located, as well as Dr. White, and it was more convenient for us to be in contact with the human resource managers for these 5 companies in this area. Yes, the COVID has caused a great upheaval in the human resources aspect, and we gained a lot of insight from these professionals who were able to share with us their experiences on what it meant to deal with employees who had to change the way that they were accustomed to work.
Thank you, Dr. Eric. Yes, so just to clarify, Central India is known to each and everybody in the audience. But to clarify, Southeast United States comprises of some of the states listed like Florida, the Carolinas, Virginia, West Virginia, Kentucky, Tennessee, Mississippi, Arkansas, Louisiana, and Alabama. So again, it's the focus was on strategic human resource management, and the difference between India and the United States was, while Mr. Khisty said there were large public enterprises and 2 small business enterprises, in the United States it was primarily only confined to small businesses, small to medium-sized businesses. Okay, so the next slide. The purpose was to, what are the implications of COVID-19? And the aim in India was to explore those human resource policies, as Mr. Khisty said, headquarters in Nagpur and establishments in different states in India, and private business organizations in Nagpur. Dr. White, what was the goal in the United States?
The goal in the United States was to ensure business survivability. What I mean by that is leaders had to think about the future. Due to COVID-19, a lot of businesses had to transition to their employees to work from home and implement technology communications. So businesses, leaders has to think years ahead. Even though now the vaccines are kind of slowing stuff down, but at the time, there was no end in sight. So employees want to know they will have a job. I know a lot of businesses in the Southeast United States closed. Some had to start working from home. So during that time frame, employees wanted to know if they was going to have a job within the next 6 months. They had to start adapting.
Sorry, go ahead.
And to facilitate employees remote and implement innovative HR solutions. Some of the HR solutions that was implemented was some HR companies, parents had to choose from going to work or being home with their kids. So what some companies did here in the Southeast United States, they start implementing having teachers on their payroll to help solidify to have parents be able to work while the students are at home taking classes. Also, some companies, they extended their paid leave because there was no end in sight at the moment. So the money wasn't coming in, and bills was being still piling up, and they didn't have no questions. Employees was having questions whether they go return back to work.
Thank you, Dr. White. So as you can see, the two different maps. Now the important thing is that you can see from a learning perspective, as you as a student, that it is possible to research different work environments and conduct studies, and the same critical thinking that was put together into this study kind of applies to what you do in your everyday life as a student. So let's turn to the next slide, but you can see the map, Central India and the Southeast United States, both specific and small geographic locations. So what we did was we interviewed these people, and we first of all wanted to see the business impact, and we collected data. And as Mr. Khisty said, that the large public sector organizations' productivity, for example, was down by 26%. Revenues were down. Is that right, Mr. Khisty?
Yes.
Okay, wonderful. So there were plenty of challenges, to keep employees engaged. How do you make sure in view of the declining revenues, loss in productivity? There were all kind of fears of mortality, death, because of the pandemic, and the lowered returns caused concern. One small silver lining or blessing was that with all the stay home and the lockdowns, some of the environment kind of recouped, and we were kind of breathing fresher air. But the devastation was huge. What about the United States, Eric?
Yes.
Eric?
So the United States was devastated. The U.S. economy lost 22 million jobs between the time frame of February to April 2020. Active business owners declined about 22%, a large drop. There were over 3.3 million people that were out of jobs, and that had a negative impact really on employment. In the African American community, employment dropped 41%. 41% of African Americans were now unemployed. And then for the Latin American, it was down 32%. And other immigrant businesses, COVID caused a decrease in employment by 36%. And so we can see that those numbers are huge, and they had a negative impact on businesses. And while my colleague talked about being able to breathe clean air, we too, because there was less traffic on the highway, people driving back and forth to work. But if you think about all those people went to work in buildings, and there were a lot of buildings that were closed, which means there was a negative impact on leases. And so it definitely was a trickle-down effect. It was on the global scale, but also here in the United States. COVID really changed lives, and it was not always for the better.
Okay, thank you, Doc. Yeah, sorry, did I?
I was going to say, and it forced human resource managers to make quick decisions, life-changing decisions. I was just going to add, and you can see that those decisions affected so many lives.
Thank you. Thank you, Dr. Eric. And now what we did was we interviewed these people. Mr. Khisty interviewed those heads in public enterprises. Dr. Eric and White also interviewed people, and I worked with both sides. So what we did was that the interviews were transcribed. And that's the process of research. So, hope if any of you desire to get into higher education at the doctoral level, this is a common practice that you analyze your data, the collected data. So I'm going to present what happened with the analysis of the interviews. So the first common theme, this was qualitative. And what we found across the board on both sides, in the US and in India, for example, India, in the public enterprises, we found that the employer was committed to safeguarding the health of the employees and the families, and the employees were impressed. They were pleased at this. And the companies, these large companies and the smaller companies, were offering preventive measures, sanitation, masks, and so on. And there was even some revamping of medical facilities for prevention of COVID-19 and treatment. Mr. Khisty, can you tell us about the 15 lakhs ex gratia payment
Yeah.
for COVID?
In public sector organizations, in case a worker dies due to an accident while working in the organization, he is entitled to a compensation of rupees 15 lakhs. It is not across the board in all organizations, but in selected public sector organizations, this is the norm. So the management, when this pandemic came there and there was a total chaos everywhere, the management actually voluntarily, without any demand, they announced that in case any employee dies because of this COVID and all that, it will be treated at par with the accidental death cases, and a compensation of rupees 15 lakhs will be given to the next of kin. So this was a very welcome decision. And the trade unions, the officers associations and all, they responded very favorably, because the management came out with this, and this helped many of those victims' family who lost their lives, So this helped. So this was only in selected. It is not across the board. Let me make it clear. It is not in all public sector, but the organization where out of the two organizations, public sector organization, I found that this provision has been introduced by one public sector organization. So this has brought in tremendous sort of appreciation from the employees of this public sector.
Wonderful. How about the United States? What is the picture here? Who's going to tell us about the United States?
So there were several key findings from the research that we conducted here on employee satisfaction of employers. There was a high employee appreciation of protecting employees. One of the great things about doing a qualitative study is that you're able to gain the impressions, the insights from individuals that you may not be able to do from a quantitative perspective. And so we were able to gain from the research that we conducted that the employees protecting themselves while at work ranked #1 for them, and ensuring that there was compliance with the CDC mandates that were coming out, that their employers were implementing proper PPE screenings and testings before they were being allowed to come into the facilities. And then offering flexible work options, hybrid in some situations where they may go into the office and work maybe 2 days and work from home 3 days, or maybe choosing the option of working 100% remote. And so because employers allowed their employees this flexibility, they gained high ratings on the perspective of how their employers were handling the COVID.
Terrific. Thank you, Dr. Eric. So a lot of flexible work options, a lot of innovation in human resource management, so to speak. And rightly, as you said, these things would not have been able to come to the fore with quantitative. I mean, to that extent, here we were able to get a first-hand perspective from employees and human resource managers themselves. The next theme was the relationships. So I understand, Mr. Khisty, that relationship between employer and employees improved.
Yes.
Okay. Less decline in indiscipline or insubordination, and the employees were quite pleased with that.
Yes.
Okay. So in terms of the United States, the picture the same?
It was the same, but the point I want to take from here for the United States is employees, what we call here at will. What that means here in the United States is that an employer can dismiss a employee at any given time without any warning. Say, like, for instance, say if you come to work 3 or 4 days late, they can terminate you and don't have to give you no reason. So that's the difference between the comparison in the United States versus India. Also with that, you don't get no compensation.
So that's a very good point, Dr. White, that in the smaller organizations, employment is at will, or what's commonly known on the world over about the United system, the hire and fire system. Whereas in India, in large public enterprises especially, there's more job security. So, if you're planning on immigration to the United States, that's something to think about also. Small businesses generally have no unions, no bargaining agreements. And I'm sure Mr. Khisty must have done a lot of engagement with those unions and bargaining kind of things, situation. So anyhow, so that is the common theme, the employee relationships. And from a knowledge standpoint, I'm sure this is good information. So the next theme, sorry, go ahead.
Yeah. In the normal course, Lionel, if these changes were brought in the organization, there would have been strike, there would have been go slow, and the employees would have retaliated. But now, because everyone understood, and the media was also playing its own role, there was that fear and all that, and the employees were very appreciative of the steps which were being taken by the employer. In public sector, the scenario was very different. But in the 2 private organizations where I interviewed, there was that lurking suspicion was there in the minds of employees, whether they would lose their jobs, whether the employers would exploit them in the long run, and that we will cover in the next slide. But
yes,
the scenario was quite different in private organizations and public sector organizations. Public sector organizations, that mutual trust was there. The employees' unions were taken into confidence. The officers' association were taken into confidence. And they knew that what the management was doing was what was required to be done.
Okay, thanks, Mr. Khisty. So that was the analysis across the board in the United States and India for one of the interview questions. And we're looking at the common themes, that's common practice in research, in qualitative research. Now, the third theme that we have spoken about was the adaptation, and the adaptation can be a form of innovation. So in India, as I understand, there was different measures like introducing a fortnightly roster to ensure attendance, work from home. Dr. Eric has talked about work from home, and Dr. White as well in the United States. So it was there in India as well, and it is still prevailing. But I had a discussion with Mr. Khisty the other day, and work from home is now going to be is seemingly a burden in some cases, because work from home can be 24 hours working. I mean, you're accountable and you have to respond to emails and so on, and it's 24 hours. But in the public sector, those normal kind of travel restrictions were put into place. The pandemic guidelines were vigorously imposed, and field operations, those travels and visits were curtailed and restricted. Similarly, in the United States, the same thing happened there, right? The adaptation.
Yes, it did. And so the adaptation has now turned into the new normal, where several of the human resource managers had conveyed that their companies would remain in a work remote aspect, where they've already made the decision that they will not be going back into the facility because it has been financially a success for their particular companies. So they've changed their business models to adapt to the new normal. And that was across the board, where companies were making decisions that were not going to be short-lived. But many of our findings found that the changes that companies made during the pandemic would now be the way that they would operate going forward in the future.
Thank you, Dr. Eric. So the new normal, and that you can see is the evolution in human resource management. So the fourth theme was, again, about the inclination or the propensity to innovate and embrace change, which Dr. Eric has touched upon, and Mr. Khisty has also talked about that. So transitions to virtual meetings and all that kind of virtual working has happened. Mr. Khisty touched upon the payments, voluntary retirements was also a part of that. If an employee wanted to voluntarily retire, then payments were given, compensation was given, and all other benefits. COVID-19 was treated on par with accidental death. That if an employee met with an accidental death, COVID-19 was also to be treated and is treated on the same kind of footing. We talked about the stoppage of any travel to the center, travel of tours to headquarters and to the field. And one thing across both countries is strict compliance with the guidelines. We talked about in the United States also about employees transitioning to remote work and leveraging communication technologies. So can you touch upon what do you mean by leveraging communication technologies? Dr. White, I think you...
Adopting on leveraging communication technologies is companies had to transit when employees had to transition to the work remotely. Most of them used to face to face, but as they transitioned, some had to transition to start using Zoom, GoToMeeting, Google Meets. So a lot of them didn't have that training because they're so used to the face-to-face interaction. So they had to bring companies in to start implementing that. So they had to do like a crash course to keep the business sustainable and profitable.
Okay, thank you, Dr. White. So a lot of GoToMeetings, online kind of platforms were used and are currently being used because that is the new normal, as we've said. And the writing was is on the wall. Either you innovate or you die. And if those who would be getting into the field of management and research and marketing and any form of management has probably heard the name of Peter Drucker, who is considered the doyen, the godfather or the grandfather of modern day management. So that's a quote from him: innovate or die was the mentality. Let us get onto the last theme. And that you can see commitment from both sides was ensure uninterrupted work, because survivability, economic viability of the organizations is the prime concern. Keep your employees engaged, ensure profitability. That is what strategic human resource management is all about, both the financials as well as the well-being of employees. So safeguard employees through strict enforcement of the mandatory guidelines. Do all the stuff to enhance facilities, medical facilities, and provide virtually 24/7 employees. So in the United States, the same thing. The show must go on. Organizations must continue to work. And if you see the little graphic or the little image there, I wonder how many would recognize who that is. Anybody? Okay, so that is Freddie Mercury. Freddie Mercury of Queen. And for those who may not know, the lead singer of Queen, and you hear his anthems, in different stadium, We Are the Champions and the Bohemian Rhapsody and so on. And those who may not know, Freddie Mercury lived for a small time in India and studied in, I believe, on the outskirts of Bombay or Mumbai. So the key in the United States for businesses was to survive, and that could only be done by innovation. And we've talked about the new norm. Dr. Eric Smith talked about it. That's what's going to be likely the future. But the idea is to keep employees and staff engaged and safe. So that was our research. Now I will ask Mr. Khisty to take the next two slides and tell us on the conclusions from this research.
Yeah. Now, as far as public sector organizations are concerned, I could find that there was that mutual trust and confidence between the employees and the employer, the trade unions, and the officers association. As far as private sector organizations are concerned, there was that air of uncertainty and also suspicion whether the employer is trying to exploit the situation, and which is not going to be in the interest of the employees. This work from home, it became a sort of for many employees, they say, sir, it is not work from home, it is slog from home. So many employees were very disturbed because of that, and they said that, at least in the organization, they are working for 8 hours, 9 hours, 10 hours, but they are expected to work for longer hours because the employer is saying, well, we are paying you for working from home. So there was that difference. Mutual trust and confidence was not to that extent as it was there in the public sector organization. All mutual consultations and all, and there were certain changes which have taken place. For example, all tours were stopped or reduced. The interviews were being held on a virtual mode. The employees were not being called. Even the board meetings, where now they have been converted to virtual mode. So the frequent tours of employees going from one place to the other has been completely discontinued. And in the offices, they have started this work from home, but as far as the establishment there, the field operations are there, where the actual work takes place, there was no change. Workers are working in the normal course. So to summarize the whole thing, the mutual trust and confidence we could see in the public sector organization, the trust was there, but in the private sector organization, we found more suspicion, more mistrust and all that, because they felt that many jobs have been outsourced to contract workers. The workers have been asked to go home and the work has been given to contract workers and all that. So this is harming the interest of the employees in the private sector. So the subtle difference we found in the attitude of employees towards the employer in private sector and public sector.
Okay, so what are the strategic human resource recommendations, Mr. Khisty?
Yeah, the recommendations will be that, whatever guidelines in the public sector, that should become more transparent, and trade unions and associations, officers associations who are being involved, it should be more interactive, they should be taken into confidence, discussion should be held. As far as private sector is concerned, we feel the government will have to be a little more vigilant through their implementing machineries and all that, so that the employer does not take advantage of this situation and harm the interest of the employees. We have to ensure that the potential employment does not fall. and the workers are not, the work is not outsourced to contractors workers by doing away with the permanent workers and all that. So that particular thing has to be safeguarded, where the government will have to step in. So this is what I feel. Public sector organization, of course, the scenario is quite good, and more consultations and discussions and meetings are required. But in private organization, the government intervention is absolutely essential. That's what I feel.
Okay, so thank you very much. What are the conclusions from the United States analysis? And Dr. Eric and Dr. White?
So the conclusions from the U.S. side, the satisfaction of employee high on HR support. So HR supporting the employees, so employees was being in the loop of what's going on, the next move as far as business-wise. Awareness of how working remote impacted daily lives of employees. HR and senior leadership was on top of staying in contact with the employees, checking on their welfare, because this transition over time period, because most last about a year, a lot of employees have been working from home, but that's kind of been, in their mental wellness. Assessing each employee before deciding which employees would work remotely. So they was just determining which employees will be working remotely or still kind of working home / in the office. Social distance will remain the business norm. So even though as business start opening back up, business owners and HR managers have to implement guidelines from the CDC to make sure customers and employees safe at all times. Continuous improvement and ongoing learning are vital to sustainability and continued continuity of the company. This COVID-19 it's been a learning process for all businesses across the board. So they'll continue to find ways to improve to make sure all employees are safe, customers are safe, while still remaining sustainable.
Okay, thank you. So, in bringing all this to closure, what are the lessons from a student perspective? This has been a unique study. We brought two different parts of the world together. So it shows you that collaboration can be across different geographic boundaries. It is possible to collaborate globally. From a student perspective, you can collaborate not only with your own classmates, but with the community. And when you do so, you're developing, you're reinforcing, you're augmenting your own critical thinking skills and abilities. And really, this helps to strengthen your knowledge in your own discipline. That's the most important thing. You want to do well academically. So this kind of engagement, this kind of knowledge sharing, whether you do it in the classroom, with the community, with others, it really helps to improve your own performance and helps you to acquire that subject matter expertise in your domain or discipline. And when you have this knowledge, then why hold it under a bushel? Why keep it to yourself? Why not enlighten others and transmit and radiate that knowledge? So that is our message from this study, that knowledge has no boundaries. You can see the process that we went through, and at the same time collaborate and enlighten others. Mr. Khisty, Dr. White, and Dr. Eric, anything to share further on this?
No, thank you.
Okay, so here are our goals. Anybody wanting to say what we want to do with these study results?
For the study results, what we want to do, we want to continue to publish in review journals, collaborate. We can bring a different part of the world on into the study as well. Offer workshops with the strategic human resource management. Discuss in HR forums, and continue to spread the word and continue to collaborate with one another.
Wonderful. So we are planning on doing all that, disseminating the results far and wide. but I hope this has given you an insight into the possibilities on critical thinking. Those that want to step into the world of management, some knowledge, some insight, and welcome any questions. And if there are no questions, we will be happy to answer those questions through the organizers, Dr. Dilip, and so on. So it's been a pleasure to associate with my colleagues. First of all, I'd like to thank Mr. Khisty, Dr. Tommy White, and Dr. Eric. And it's a pleasure once again to be associated with SFS College. Thank you, Kevin. Thank you, Dr. Thomas, the organizers, the staff, and students for this wonderful opportunity to engage in learning and knowledge. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
So I'm sure that your description and deliberation was so vivid and clear that our participants are satisfied. I would like to sincerely appreciate you all, dear speakers, for such stimulating and informative talk. Your deliberations and concerns on the topic are extremely beneficial to all the viewers. Thank you for enlightening us with your knowledge. Thank you, sir. Thank you all.
Thank you very much. And have a nice evening and good afternoon to American host, Dr. Sherifi, if she's still around, and Dr. White and Dr. Eric. Okay, thank you very much. Bye-bye.
Thank you, Lionel. Thank you.
Thanks.
Thank you. Today's sessions gave us deep insights into the various topics, and it also made some unique revelations. Interesting concepts and genuine ideas were shared, and we value your presence and esteem knowledge that you all shared with us today. It is my privilege to propose a formal vote of thanks. I would like to extend my heartfelt gratitude to our ever-supportive and encouraging management and our principal, Dr. K.D. Thomas, sir. Once again, I would like to express my sincere thanks to all our speakers for their willingness to spare their valuable time to interact with us all. We are fortunate enough to be backed by a team of very motivating and dedicated organizing committee. I truly appreciate all their efforts. I would also like to thank our participants for being attentive listeners throughout the sessions. A note for the participants, please to fill the feedback form and let us know your views and opinions of the day. The link for today's program can be availed on YouTube live chat and Google Meet chat box. We shall meet again tomorrow for yet another engrossing session. Until then, take care and stay safe. Thank you. Thank you all.